It started with a nagging cramp, the kind that we ignore, take a little painkiller, and go on with our day. At first, it was only on the first day of menstruation, nothing major. I thought to myself, oh, it's normal. Every woman feels this. I tried to live my life normally, go to work, hang out with friends. But the pain would hit hard, really digging in, like a stab in the stomach. I began to feel an inexplicable fatigue, a tiredness that wouldn't go away even with 10 hours of sleep. There were days when I could barely get out of bed. And the worst part was the pain during intercourse, something that made me super uncomfortable and made me avoid sex. I tried to convince myself it was just stress, poor diet, lack of exercise. I did yoga, changed my diet, drank miracle teas. Nothing worked. The pain only got worse, spreading to my back, to my legs. And then, one day, in the middle of an important meeting at work, the pain hit me hard. A sharp, stabbing pain that made me double over. I had to run to the bathroom, almost passed out. It was there, in that moment, that I realized I could no longer ignore it, that it wasn't normal, and that I urgently needed to see a doctor. It clicked. My body was screaming for help. Hi guys, my name is Nicole. I'm 32 years old, and until recently, I thought my life was normal, I worked, hung out with friends, had plans for the future. But suddenly, everything changed. A persistent pain, which I ignored for so long, turned out to be endometriosis. From then on, my routine became a constant battle. I decided to share my story because honestly, I don't want other women to go through what I did. I took too long to seek help, ignored the signals from my body, and now I live with the consequences. I know many of us are afraid to go to the doctor, to hear a bad diagnosis, but believe me, the fear of finding out is much smaller than the pain of living with the disease without treatment. I regret not listening to myself sooner, of putting work and other things ahead of my health. If I could go back in time, I would have acted differently. But now, all I can do is use my experience to warn other women. I want you to know that you're not alone, that the pain is not trivial, and that seeking medical help is crucial. My goal is to turn my battle into something positive, into a tool for awareness and prevention. I want my story to serve as an example so that other women do not have to go through the same suffering. Listen to your bodies. Do not ignore the pain and seek help. Your health is the priority. In the beginning, neglect was almost a form of self-defense, a way to keep life on track, even with the persistent pains. Strong cramps during menstruation? Oh, it's normal. My mother also felt that. Extreme fatigue that would knock me down by the end of the day? I'm working too much. I need a vacation. Pain during intercourse? Stress, lack of skill. We need to relax more. It was a constant mantra of justifications, a desperate attempt to fit the symptoms into some banal explanation to avoid facing the possibility of something more serious. Self-medication was my primary tool to deal with the situation. Ibuprofen was my best friend. I would take it as soon as the pain started bothering me without worrying about the dosage or possible side effects. Sometimes it worked, but most of the time it just masked the pain for a few hours, allowing me to continue working, studying, or doing my activities. I also tried miraculous teas for cramps prescribed by friends or found on the internet. Chamomile, fennel, ginger, nothing made a difference. The pain returned with the same intensity or even worse. In addition to ibuprofen and teas, I used ointments and heat patches to relieve back and leg pains, which I attributed to a wrong move or excessive effort in the gym. I also tried vitamin supplements, hoping to combat fatigue, but without any medical supervision. It was a desperate attempt to find a quick and palliative solution without having to deal with the bureaucracy of scheduling an appointment and having tests done. My routine was insanely hectic. I worked full-time, took a specialization course at night, and still tried to maintain an active social life. Time for myself was a luxury. I prioritized everything: work, studies, friends, except my health. I constantly postponed the medical appointment, making excuses to myself. I'm too busy. I don't have time to see a doctor. The pain will pass. It's just a phase. It was a vicious cycle of neglect and self-medication that only worsened my situation. The truth is that I was scared. Scared of the diagnosis, scared of having to change my routine, scared of facing reality. This fear paralyzed me and prevented me from seeking help for a long time. What I didn't know was that by ignoring the signs of my body, I was allowing endometriosis to develop and cause even more damage. The climb was slow, almost imperceptible at first. The cramps that used to be bearable, solved with a painkiller, started coming with more intensity. It wasn't just on the first day of menstruation, it extended throughout almost the entire week. The medicine no longer had much effect, and I needed to increase the dose to get some relief. I started missing work, making up excuses to my boss and colleagues. I would say I had the flu, a headache, anything to avoid having to explain the truth. I was ashamed to admit I was suffering from such severe cramps. The pain spread to other areas of the body. I felt stabs in my back, legs, abdomen. Sometimes it felt like I was being stabbed from the inside. Difficulty sleeping was constant. I couldn't find a comfortable position, and the pain would wake me up several times during the night. I would wake up exhausted, as if I hadn't slept at all. I began to have concentration problems at work, forgetting important commitments, handing in tasks late. My productivity plummeted, and I felt increasingly frustrated and incompetent. My relationships were also affected. I avoided going out with friends, made up excuses to not attend parties or social events. I had no energy for anything. I just wanted to stay at home, lying in bed, trying to control the pain. My romantic relationship suffered greatly. The pain during intercourse made me tense and uncomfortable, and I started avoiding sex. This led to many conflicts with my partner, who didn't understand what was going on. He thought I wasn't interested in him anymore, and I couldn't explain the truth. The leisure activities that used to bring me so much pleasure became a burden. I could no longer go to the gym, dance, or go on trails. Any physical effort made me exhausted and increased the pain. Even walking became a challenge. There were days when I could barely get out of bed, needing my boyfriend's help to dress and feed myself. My life was reduced to pain, exhaustion, and frustration. The feeling that my body was failing me was constant. I felt like I was trapped in a prison, unable to control my own body. The frustration and despair were overwhelming. I would cry in secret in the bathroom, afraid someone would see me. I tried to maintain the appearance of normalcy, to smile and pretend everything was okay. But inside, I was falling apart. I was afraid of worrying my parents, who were already elderly and had their own health problems. I didn't want to be a burden to them. I tried to hide the situation from my friends, afraid of being judged or misunderstood. I felt ashamed of my weakness. I believed it was my fault, that I wasn't taking care of myself enough. The truth is, I was drowning in a sea of pain and loneliness. Endometriosis had turned my life into a silent nightmare. The day of the fateful meeting was a turning point. The pain hit me with such violence that it made it impossible for me to disguise. I collapsed right there in the company's bathroom, suffocated by spasms and tears. A colleague found me and insisted on taking me to the emergency room. At first I hesitated, but the pain was unbearable. At the hospital, after a barrage of questions and a superficial exam, I was discharged with a prescription for a stronger painkiller and the recommendation to see a gynecologist. I scheduled the appointment as soon as possible. The doctor, a lady with a kind look, listened attentively to my story without interrupting me. For the first time, I felt like I was being taken seriously. She performed a complete physical examination and requested a series of tests: transvaginal ultrasound, pelvic magnetic resonance imaging, and tumor markers. The wait for the results was agonizing. Each day seemed like an eternity. Anxiety gnawed at me from the inside, fueled by incessant internet searches. I discovered endometriosis, its symptoms, its potential complications. Fear paralyzed me. Finally, the day of the follow-up appointment arrived. I sat in the chair, nervous, while the doctor analyzed the tests. Her expression was serious. She sighed and looked me in the eyes. "Nicole, the tests confirmed the suspicion. You have endometriosis." Those words echoed in my mind like thunder. Endometriosis, a strange name, which until then was just a word in an online article. Suddenly, that word was the definition of my illness, the explanation for all my suffering. I felt a shock run through my body. Disbelief overtook me. It was as if I was living a nightmare. No, it can't be, I thought. There must be some mistake. Tears began to stream down my face. The doctor offered me a tissue and waited for me to calm down. "I know it's hard to accept, Nicole, but we need to talk about treatment options," she said in a gentle voice. At that moment, the world crumbled around me. The future I had planned seemed uncertain and dark. Endometriosis was a chronic, incurable disease. What would my life be like from then on? Would I be able to have children? Would I have to live with the pain forever? Doubts and questions flooded my mind. I needed answers, support. The doctor explained the treatment options to me: medications to control the pain and progression of the disease, surgery to remove the endometriosis foci. She referred me to other specialists, a physiotherapist to help me deal with chronic pain, and a psychologist to provide emotional support. Left the doctor's office dazed, carrying a stack of papers with information about the illness and treatments. Walked aimlessly through the streets, feeling lost and vulnerable. Needed someone to talk to give me a hug, to tell me everything would be okay. Called my mom, but couldn't say anything, just cried. She sensed something was wrong and asked me to come to her house. When I got there, I hugged her and broke down in tears, told her everything that had happened, from the first cramps to the diagnosis of endometriosis. She listened attentively without interrupting. When I finished speaking, she hugged me tight and said, "Daughter, you are not alone. We will face this together." The beginning of treatment was a whirlwind of information and decisions. The doctor explained the available options, detailing the pros and cons of each one. We started with hormonal medications, which aimed to suppress menstruation and, consequently, slow down the progression of endometriosis. At first, it seemed like a promising solution. The pain decreased a little, and I got some relief days, but soon the side effects began to appear. The first and most uncomfortable was weight gain. I felt bloated, retaining fluid, and with an insatiable hunger. Tried to control my diet, exercise, but nothing seemed to work. My self-esteem plummeted. In addition to weight gain, I started having intense hot flashes, insomnia, and mood swings. I felt irritable, depressed, and lacked energy to do anything. The fatigue was extreme. I could barely get out of bed to work. After a few months, the doctor decided to change the medication. I tried different types of hormones, but they all caused unpleasant side effects. I had unexpected bleeding, strong headaches, and hair loss. With each new attempt, hope diminished. I felt like a guinea pig, testing drugs without knowing if any of them would really work. At a certain point, the pain became unbearable again. I was hospitalized several times with intense crises. The hospitalizations were a nightmare. Spent days lying in a hospital bed, receiving painkillers intravenously. Felt helpless, dependent on others to do the most basic things. The loneliness was crushing. Even with visits from my family and friends, I felt isolated in my suffering. After several unsuccessful attempts with medication, the doctor proposed surgery. The idea scared me, but at the same time gave me hope for a better life. The surgery was performed by laparoscopy, a minimally invasive technique. During the procedure, the doctor removed the endometriosis lesions that were spread throughout my pelvis. The recovery was painful. I had to rest completely for several weeks. The pain persisted. Even with painkillers, I felt weak and debilitated. After the surgery, the doctor recommended complementary treatment with physiotherapy and acupuncture. Physiotherapy helped me strengthen the muscles of the pelvis and alleviate chronic pain. Acupuncture provided me with deep relaxation and helped me control stress and anxiety. Despite all efforts, endometriosis continued to be present in my life. The pain never completely disappeared. I had to learn to live with it, adapt my routine, and find ways to relieve the discomfort. The disease imposed many limitations on me. I had to give up some activities I enjoyed, such as dancing and hiking. I felt frustrated and angry about the situation. There were moments of great discouragement. I even thought about giving up treatment. I felt tired of fighting against the disease. The pain consumed me from within, stealing my joy and hope. In those moments, the support of my family and friends was crucial. They gave me strength to keep going, reminded me that I was not alone. The medical team was also essential in my journey. The doctor, the physiotherapist, and the psychologist welcomed me and provided all the necessary support. They explained the disease to me, guided me on treatments, and helped me deal with my emotions. I am grateful to each of them for giving me hope and for helping me regain my quality of life. The battle against endometriosis is ongoing, but with the right support and the determination to move forward, it is possible to have a full and happy life. Many times, people confuse terminal illness with palliative care, and this confusion generates a lot of fear and anxiety. Being in a terminal state means that the illness is advanced, there is no possibility of a cure, and life expectancy is very short. Palliative care, on the other hand, is quite different. It is an approach that aims to improve the quality of life of patients and their families facing issues associated with life-threatening illnesses. It is not just for patients in a terminal state, but for anyone suffering from symptoms of a severe illness, regardless of the stage it is in. It is important to demystify the idea that palliative care is the end of the line. On the contrary, it is a pathway to live the best way possible, even in the face of a difficult illness. The focus is no longer on curing, but on pain relief, symptom management, emotional and spiritual support, and ensuring that the patient has comfort and dignity. Palliative care offers a multidisciplinary approach with doctors, nurses, psychologists, social workers, and other professionals working together to meet the individual needs of each patient. They help manage pain, which can be one of the most debilitating symptoms, using different types of medications and therapies. Additionally, they provide support in dealing with other symptoms like nausea, shortness of breath, fatigue, and insomnia. Mental health also receives special attention in palliative care. Illness can generate a lot of anxiety, depression, and fear. The psychologist provides emotional support to help the patient cope with these feelings and find ways to face the situation with more tranquility. Spiritual support is also essential for many people. Palliative care respects the religious beliefs of each patient and offers spiritual support if desired. I myself experienced the benefits of palliative care and alternative therapies during my treatment for endometriosis. Chronic pain left me very stressed and anxious. I began practicing meditation and yoga, which helped me relax, control the pain, and improve my quality of life. Meditation taught me to focus on the present, accept pain without judgment, and cultivate inner calm. Yoga helped me stretch my muscles, improve my posture, and relieve tension. I also tried acupuncture, which helped me balance the energy of my body and reduce pain. I believe that alternative therapies can be an important complement to conventional medical treatment. They do not replace medications or surgery, but they can help alleviate symptoms, improve well-being, and promote quality of life. The most important thing is to remember that you are not alone. Seeking medical help, following the recommended treatment, and seeking emotional support are fundamental steps to face the disease with more strength and hope. Palliative care can be a great ally on this journey, offering comfort, dignity, and quality of life, regardless of the stage of the disease. Do not be afraid to seek help. You deserve to live in the best way possible, even in the face of such a great challenge. And then, just when I thought I was finally able to breathe, life tripped me up again. That relief, that sense of control, all crumbled like dust in the wind. The symptoms returned, silent at first, like a distant whisper. The cramps, the fatigue, the pain, old acquaintances that I swore I had left behind. I ignored them, tried to convince myself it was all in my head, that stress was playing tricks on me. But the pain grew stronger, more insistent, until I could no longer deny the truth. Endometriosis was back. It felt like everything was starting over, as if I had regressed to square one, as if all the effort, all the struggle had been in vain. The frustration was immense. The anger consumed me from within. Why again? Why me? I didn't deserve this. The anguish of having to face all that again was paralyzing. Scheduling appointments, undergoing tests, reliving the pain of uncertainty, it all seemed like an unbearable burden. And the new symptoms, worse, more intense. Pains spreading to places I never imagined. A fatigue that kept me from getting out of bed. Unexpected bleeding that scared me. Once again, the routine of hospitals, doctors, and tests. The MRI, the CT scan, and finally, the diagnosis that changed everything. Metastasis. Endometriosis was not just back, it had spread to other organs. Fear washed over me like an overwhelming wave. A paralyzing fear, preventing me from breathing, from thinking, from feeling. Fear of pain, of suffering, of uncertainty. But above all, fear of death. The finitude of life became a palpable, concrete, terrifying reality. The fragility of my body, the vulnerability of my existence, everything became more evident. Accepting this new reality has been the greatest challenge of my life. A painful, gradual process that demands a lot of courage and resilience. I allow myself to feel sadness, anger, fear, but I do not let these feelings dominate me. I seek psychological support to deal with anxiety and depression, to process my emotions, and to find strength to move forward. Faith has also been a safe haven on this journey. I believe in a higher power, in a greater force that guides and protects me. I pray, meditate, seek comfort in sacred scriptures. Spirituality helps me find meaning in suffering, to accept what I cannot change, and to connect with my essence. I have decided to focus on living in the present, on cherishing every moment, on valuing the small things. A hug, a smile, a sunset. Each moment becomes precious, unique, irreplaceable. I rediscovered the joy of being alive, of breathing, of feeling the sun on my face. I learned to love my body, even with its limitations, to take care of myself with affection and compassion. I share my story with the hope of inspiring others facing similar challenges. I want to show that it is possible to find strength, hope, and joy even amidst pain and suffering. Life is a precious gift, and we must make the most of it regardless of the circumstances. Embrace the present, love yourself, and never lose faith. Believe there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, and even if the tunnel is long and dark, the light will always prevail. The journey with endometriosis, especially after the diagnosis of metastasis, has taught me to embrace the present in a way that I never imagined was possible. Before, I used to live on autopilot, always thinking about the future, planning, striving for goals and achievements. I forgot to savor the now, to appreciate the small joys that life offered me every day. Now, every moment has become a precious gift, a unique opportunity to feel, to love, to smile. I have learned to slow down, to take deep breaths, and to pay attention to the details. The birds singing in the morning, the smell of fresh coffee, the gentle touch of the wind on my face. Simple things that used to go unnoticed before now bring me a sense of peace and contentment. One of my favorite activities is walking in the park, observing the trees, the flowers, the animals. Feeling the connection with nature invigorates me and helps me recharge my energies. I love reading a good book, especially those that transport me to other worlds, that make me reflect on life and on myself. Reading provides me with moments of relaxation and learning, as well as stimulates my imagination and creativity. I enjoy cooking, preparing healthy and tasty meals for myself and for the people I love. Cooking is a way to express my affection and to nourish the body and soul. Moments of joy now are more intense and significant. A meeting with friends, a family dinner, a tight hug. Every gesture of affection becomes a source of energy and happiness. I have learned to value relationships, to express my feelings sincerely, and to be grateful for the people who are part of my life. The illness has taught me the importance of having a strong and supportive support network, of sharing my joys and sorrows with those who love me. I have discovered the power of gratitude. I am grateful every day for my health, for my family, for my friends, for my home, for my work, for the opportunities that life offers me. Gratitude helps me focus on the positive, to overcome difficult moments, and to value everything I have. I have learned to let go of unnecessary worries, not to cling to material things, and to prioritize what really matters: my health, my relationships, my inner peace. Illness has taught me to be more patient with myself, to respect my limits, and to take care of my body and mind. I've learned to say no when needed, to delegate tasks, and not to be so hard on myself. I've embraced imperfection and learned to love myself exactly as I am, with all my qualities and flaws. I've found beauty in simplicity, strength in vulnerability, and joy in authenticity. Above all, I've learned to live in the present with gratitude, faith, and hope. I believe that life is a precious gift and that each day is an opportunity to be happy. I choose to live with joy, love, and passion, savoring each moment as if it were the last. Endometriosis has taken many things from me, but it has also given me many gifts: wisdom, resilience, gratitude, and the ability to love and be loved unconditionally. I am grateful for every lesson learned, every challenge overcome, and every moment of joy experienced. And I move forward with faith and hope, embracing the present and building a future full of love, peace, and happiness. My perspective on life and death changed drastically after being diagnosed with metastatic endometriosis. Before, death was a distant abstraction, something that happened to others, not to me. I lived as if time were infinite, postponing dreams and prioritizing trivial things. Illness confronted me with my finitude, made me realize the fragility of life and the importance of seizing each moment. Today, I face death with more serenity and acceptance. I do not see it as an end, but as a transition, a passage to another dimension. I believe that energy is never lost, only transformed. My faith comforts and gives me hope, makes me believe in something greater, a divine plan that transcends our understanding. I accept death as a natural part of the cycle of life, as the end of one journey and the beginning of another. The experience of illness has transformed me profoundly. I have become stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate. Pain has taught me to value health, to take care of my body and mind. Uncertainty has taught me to live in the present, not to worry about the future, and to savor each moment as if it were the last. Vulnerability has taught me to be authentic, to express my feelings sincerely, and to connect with people on a deeper level. Illness has also made me more compassionate towards others. I have learned to listen carefully, to offer support, and not to judge. I understand the pain of others, the anguish, the fear, and the uncertainty. I want to use my experience to help other people facing similar challenges, to offer hope, and to show that they are not alone. Suffering has humanized me, made me realize the importance of empathy and solidarity. The legacy I want to leave is one of love, hope, and inspiration. I want people to remember me as someone who fought with courage, loved intensely, and lived with joy even in the face of adversity. I want to inspire others to take care of their health, to value life, and to pursue their dreams. I want my story to serve as an example so that other women do not have to go through the same suffering, so that they learn to listen to their bodies, seek medical help, and not settle for pain. I believe that awareness and information are essential to combat endometriosis and other women's diseases. I want to use my voice to speak about the importance of prevention, early diagnosis, and proper treatment. I want women to feel empowered to take care of themselves, to defend their rights, and to fight for a healthier and happier life. For those facing similar challenges, I leave a message of hope and encouragement. Do not give up. Believe in yourselves. Seek medical help, follow the recommended treatment, and do not isolate yourselves. Share your experiences, seek emotional support, and remember that you are not alone. Find strength in faith, family, friends, and nature. Believe that it is possible to find joy and meaning in life, even in the midst of pain and suffering. Life is a precious gift, and each day is an opportunity to be happy. Embrace the present, love yourself, and never lose hope. Believe there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. And even if the tunnel is long and dark, the light will always prevail. Be strong, be courageous, and never give up on fighting for your health and happiness. You are capable of overcoming any obstacle and building a full and meaningful life. Always remember, you are not alone. I am here with you, and together we are stronger. I learned the hard way the importance of listening to my body. Every ache, every sign, no matter how small it might seem, was a silent cry for attention. Do not ignore the signals your body gives you. It is wise and knows when something is not right. Trust your intuition and do not be afraid to seek medical help. Often, the fear of a diagnosis prevents us from seeking help, but believe me, the fear of not knowing is much greater than the fear of facing the truth. Prevention is key. Get routine checkups, see a doctor regularly, and be attentive to your body's signals. Early diagnosis can make all the difference in the treatment and prognosis of the disease. Do not wait for the pain to become unbearable to seek help. The earlier you discover the disease, the greater the chances of controlling it and having a full and happy life. If I could give advice to those facing endometriosis or any other disease, it would be, do not give in to despair. Believe in your inner strength, seek emotional support, and follow the recommended treatment. Faith can be a great ally on this journey. Believe in a higher power, connect with your spirituality, and find comfort and hope in your belief. Embrace life with gratitude and joy. Value every moment, every smile, every hug. Learn to love your body, take care of yourself, and celebrate your inner beauty. Life is a precious gift, and we should make the most of it, regardless of the circumstances. And above all, remember, you are not alone. There are many people who love you, care about you, and are ready to help you. I am grateful to everyone who has followed my journey. Sharing my story was a way of turning my pain into hope. I believe in the strength of life, in the human ability to overcome, and in the importance of cherishing every moment. May my experience serve as inspiration for more women to listen to their bodies, seek medical help, and face life with courage, faith, and love. Life is a miracle, and each of us is a universe of possibilities. Believe in yourself and embrace the present with gratitude and joy.
É porque eu sou rápido e vejo tudo de cima. Tem até macaco que adora pular de árvore em árvore. Já viu?